Who sets the twins are ready to take to the stage of world football and fight out to see which one of them can become the best footballer in the world. Hugo and Ryan Sutherland are two brothers who were born in Scotland in the city of Glasgow. Hugo's ability to score for fun from a young age saw him earn a place in the Rangers Academy. However, his brother Ryan will have to work his way up the leagues as he finds himself down the river in the industrious town of Clyde. A flight to Italy will be needed to see the Cato brothers taunt their talent. Malco Cato has elected to stay at his boyhood club of AC Milan to work his way into the first team. His twin Matteo, however, has decided to swap the fashion capital to meet up with Cesc Fabregas in the picturesque city of Como. Each of the Wonderkids has a current ability of 80 and a potential ability of 200 with perfect hidden attributes. Hugo and Matteo will find themselves leading the front line, whereas Ryan and Malco will be the engines in midfield. It's been a forgettable first half of the season for the boys, with Ryan's 2 appearances for Clyde being the only minutes any of them have had. The Italian twin struggles for minutes continued as Malco couldn't step on the pitch for Milan and Matteo only managed 2 substitute appearances. Hugo Sutherland's had a strong second half of the season for Rangers, scoring 9 goals in 16 games for the second team, but it's his brother Ryan who's the star of the first season. He's achieved promotion with Clyde and provided 13 goal contributions in 16 games with an average rating of 7.48. And these performances haven't gone unnoticed as he's attracted attention from some of the biggest sides in England. Ryan Sutherland is on the move to the Premier League as he joins the Red Devils setup, which sees his value skyrocket to 94 million. Matteo Cato ended up finding himself going out on loan as he joins the Serie C side Casertana, for who he scored 2 goals in 12 games for. Hugo Sutherland has managed to pick up his first Rangers goal in a 3-2 victory against St Johnstone, and Malco Cato has got his first start for Milan in a 3-2 victory away from home. It's the end of the season now and silverware has been won. By Hugo Sutherland as Rangers lift the Scottish Premiership, and Malco Cato also gets a league winners medal as Milan are Serie A champions. Matteo finishes his loan spell with 10 goals, but it seems Como haven't missed his absence as they gain promotion to the Serie A, which will see our first brother versus brother matchup. Except it didn't happen. Como and Milan first met in August at the San Siro, where Malco Cato came on towards the end in a 2-1 win. In the reverse fixture, however, it was his brother who was on the pitch, and his goal kick-started a Como comeback. Matteo finished the season with 8 goals and 4 assists, but that wasn't enough for Como to avoid the drop. And it was a breakout season for his brother, as Malco notched up 34 appearances, contributing to 10 goals in the process. The Cato's brother form hadn't gone unnoticed as they were both handed their Italy debut against Slovakia. But what about the Scottish boys? Up in Scotland, Hugo Sutherland has seen an increase in his first team football with a season total of 7 goals in 18 games. But it's not just Rangers where he's making a name for himself, as he received his first international cap in November against Montenegro, which was followed a few months later with his first goal, a game which saw Ryan get his first international appearance. But it's his brother Ryan who has all the attention, but for all the wrong reasons. After just 1 appearance since signing for United, Ryan found himself out on loan to Midtjylland in Denmark until the end of the season. Malco Cato was handed a chance in the first team and has not looked back. 8 goal contributions and 36 starts allowed him and his Milan side to complete the domestic treble, beating Fiorentina in the Coppa Italia final. However, his Scottish midfield counterpart finds himself warming the bench for another year as growth begins to stall. But if Ryan is struggling, Hugo is thriving. 22 goals in 24 games helps him win his second Premiership title with Rangers, and it seems that this season might be his last after handing in a transfer request, which has gotten the attention of none other than his brother's side, Manchester United. Como will be looking to cash in on Matteo Cato after his 20 league goal season in the second tier of Italy, except they can't, as he's already agreed terms with Liverpool. At the end of Season 4, AC Milan's Malco ranks the highest among the 4 for current ability, while Ryan's lack of game time sees him bottom of the pile. The 2027-28 season has started with a bang as Hugo Sutherland turns down the chance to play with his brother at Manchester United and instead opts for the London Blue of Chelsea. Matteo Cato has hit the ground running for Liverpool, notching up 5 goals in 9 Premier League starts. His Scottish rival, on the other hand, has only managed 1 goal for Chelsea in the Prem so far. Malco Cato picks up multiple Player of the Year awards as he leads AC Milan to another Serie A title. His brother Matteo sees his value shoot up after finishing the season with 16 goals in the league. Hugo Sutherland picked up his form towards the end of the season to finish 3 goals behind Matteo on 13. But Hugo and Chelsea have their eyes set on a bigger prize. After finishing 13th in the league, they breezed past Fenerbahce in the playoff before knocking out Matteo Cato's Liverpool in the round of 16, then Real Sociedad in the quarter-finals. A 4-0 away win against Bayern, which included a Hugo Sutherland double, meant Chelsea would be playing in the Champions League final against Arsenal, which they lost 3-2. Not the ending they were hoping for. And as for Ryan, well, he had a comfy view for the campaign. And I think it's here that would be a good time for a recap of the Wonderkids trophy cabinets. 5 years in, and Hugo Sutherland has 2 Scottish premierships in his cabinet, while Matteo is yet to win a major trophy. As for the midfielders, Ryan also finds himself with an empty trophy cabinet, while Malco Cato already has 3 Serie A titles and a Coppa Italia in his collection. There was no changes at the start of Season 6 apart from Ryan Sutherland being placed on Manchester United's loan list. Nobody wanted him, however he did end up making 13 appearances for Manchester United. Malco Cato is the first of the Wonderkids to maximise his current ability to 200, and it should be no surprise that Milan won the Serie A and the Coppa Italia. Hugo and Matteo both reached the 20s in the Premier League goal tallies, but neither could help their team win the Premier League, as Man City were eventual champions. However, Matteo did manage to win the FA Cup with Liverpool. But he won't be happy with his brother Malco, as his AC Milan side knocked out Liverpool in the quarter-final, before Chelsea knocked out Milan in the semi-final, which means Hugo Sutherland finds himself in back-to-back Champions League finals and has a shot at redemption. But he can't take it as Real Madrid emerged 2-0 victors. Ryan Sutherland is starting to feel like a forgotten child. He managed 4 appearances for United. That's about it. Chelsea will be sick at the sight of Liverpool as they finish behind them in the Premier League and were knocked out in both the FA Cup and the Champions League by them. However, Hugo Sutherland does have a personal win over Matteo as he wins the Premier League Golden Boot with 31 goals. It feels like every time I mention Malco Cato and AC Milan, it's followed by Serie A champions. But that isn't the case this time, as they finish 4 points behind Juventus. Liverpool managed to defend their FA Cup title, and this time Matteo Cato managed to score. In fact, he scored all 3 goals in the final against Brighton. And the chance for silverware didn't stop there, as Liverpool got all the way to the Champions League final to face off against reigning champions Real Madrid, who knocked out his brothers AC Milan. This story is a heartbreaking one, however. Liverpool managed to go up 2 in the final before throwing away the lead in 6 minutes to then lose on penalties. By Season 8, the 3 best players in the world by current ability are the Cato brothers and Hugo. The other one had his best season yet for Manchester United, making 19 appearances, during which he got a goal and an assist. His brother Hugo has managed to secure his first trophy with Chelsea as they won the Carabao Cup against Manchester City in the final, but despite 30 goals from Hugo Sutherland in the league, all they could manage was 4th place. As for Europe, Milan and Malco knocked them out in the semi-finals. Speaking of Malco and Milan, they too could only manage a 4th place finish in the league. However, they did win the Coppa Italia and find themselves in the Champions League final against none other than Matteo's Liverpool. And this time Liverpool managed to crown themselves champions of Europe thanks to Matteo Cato opening with his 19th goal of the Champions League campaign, but that would be their only silverware for the season. And at this point it feels customary to get Ryan and Manchester United out the way, but this time they do have a trophy, which is the Europa Conference League, as they beat Roma 1-0, a game in which Ryan didn't step in the pitch. Milan make it 3 years now without a Serie A, and they miss out on the title by a single point. And the Coppa Italia was just as close to being won, as they lose to Juventus in the final 1-0. Malco Cato has now played over 200 Serie A games for Milan, contributing to well over 100 goals along the way. For the 3rd year in a row, Hugo Sutherland wins the Premier League Golden Boot. And it seems Chelsea have finally capitalised on this as they win the Premier League. but it seems that's where all their focus was, as they had early exits in all other competitions. But there is one man we haven't mentioned, Matteo Cato, and that's because he's reached his third consecutive Champions League final with Liverpool, and if they want to end the season with silverware, they have to beat Manchester City. Unfortunately, they can't, and for the 5th year in a row, one of the Wonderkids has lost a Champions League final. Ryan Sutherland and Manchester United are back to their old ways of having trophyless seasons. Chelsea failed to defend their Premier League title as Liverpool come agonisingly close to becoming champions of England. And just like Chelsea, Hugo Sutherland fails to defend his golden boot as Matteo Cato beats him by 1 goal. However, the Blues' season wasn't a total disaster after a dramatic 3-2 win against Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup. Man City denied Liverpool the Premier League, and they've also denied them the FA Cup after Liverpool and Matteo lose 3-1 in the final. But Liverpool have managed to find themselves in another Champions League final after beating both Chelsea and Manchester City. Malco and Milan have finally claimed back that Serie A title, topping the table with 94 points, but that will be their only trophy this season after disappointing performances in the Cup. Now the Champions League final, Liverpool play PSG. Can they make it 2 out of 4, or will it be another season of heartbreak for Matteo? And it's a similar story for Liverpool as they suffer yet another defeat in the grandest stage, this time due to a 90th minute penalty. It's time for another trophy cabinet recap. After Manchester United's UEFA Conference League win, Ryan Sutherland has added his first trophy. As for his Italian counterpart, he currently has 5 Serie A titles and 3 Coppa Italias in his collection. Matteo Cato is the first to add the Champions League to his collection, as well as 2 FA Cups, bringing his total to 3. As for Hugo Sutherland, his Premier League win and 2 Carabao Cups brings his total to 5. Ryan Sutherland and Man United once again fail to win a title as Ryan continues to make most of his appearances from off the bench. Liverpool and Matteo Cato also have themselves a trophyless season. It's another Serie A title for Malco Cato, but that's where the silverware stops for him. Hugo Sutherland regains the Premier League Golden Boot, but his goals can't help Chelsea win the league. However, they do help defeat London rivals Tottenham in the FA Cup final. Juventus, Liverpool and Manchester City couldn't stop Chelsea from reaching a Champions League final, and neither could Barcelona thanks to a Hugo Sutherland extra time winner. Ryan Sutherland has finally gotten a season as a starter at Manchester United, although he couldn't win anything. It's another Premier League Golden Boot for Hugo and Carabao Cup for Chelsea as they beat Burnley in the final. Milan and Malco make it 3 Serie A titles in a row now, but his brother Matteo was unable to win anything with Liverpool. Although the Cato brothers have won the Nations League together thanks to a 1-0 win over Spain in the final. Ryan Sutherland finds himself back to a part-time player for Manchester United, making just 13 appearances all season. His brother Hugo, on the other hand, repeats last season by winning the Premier League Golden Boot and Carabao Cup, this time beating Manchester City in the final. Italy was dominated by Lazio this season, as Milan were beaten to the Serie A title by them, and knocked out by Lazio in the Coppa Italia semi-finals, who went on to win the cup. Matteo Cato shares the Golden Boot with Hugo, although the big story is Liverpool have finally managed to win the Premier League title, with Hugo's Chelsea finishing in second, although that would be the only title for the Reds this season. In a surprising turn of events, Ryan Sutherland has found himself out on loan to Real Madrid, making 19 appearances, winning both the La Liga and Copa del Rey. Matteo Cato also had an exciting season as Liverpool defended their Premier League title, beat Newcastle in the FA Cup final, but were denied the domestic double by Merseyside rivals Everton on penalties. The trophies didn't stop there for Matteo as he won the Nations League alongside brother Malco, who also won the Serie A after a close title race with Lazio, and the Coppa Italia after beating Lazio. And now Hugo in Chelsea. With Liverpool dominating the domestic scene, they only had one last chance at a trophy. They beat Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 16, then Liverpool in penalties in the quarter-final, and then Newcastle in the semi-finals, setting up a clash against Milan's current rivals Lazio, which they won 3-0 thanks to a Hugo Sutherland double. Chelsea have managed to end Liverpool's Premier League dominance as they emerge winners. Ryan Sutherland has brought back the winning bug as Manchester United beat Everton to win the Carabao Cup. Malco and Milan have shown Lazio how to do back-to-back Serie A titles, although Lazio got some revenge knocking them out in the Coppa Italia semi-finals. Lastly, Matteo and Liverpool. This season they couldn't produce the same domestic dominance, but like Chelsea last season, they had one last shot at a trophy. First they beat Juventus, then Inter Milan in the quarter-finals. Madrid took them to penalties, but Liverpool squeezed through, and finally Barcelona in the final after extra time. It's time for another recap of the trophies. Malco Cato has a whopping 15 trophies in his collection, while Ryan has managed to get his to 4. As for the strikers, Liverpool's Matteo now has 9 trophies, including 2 Champions Leagues. Hugo Sutherland also boasts 2 Champions Leagues, but his total sits at 11. Ryan Sutherland and Man United have made it back-to-back Carabao Cups after defeating Matteo's Liverpool in the final. Speaking of Liverpool, they missed out in the Premier League after the closest title race we've had, as they had less goals scored than Arsenal. Missing out in the Prem by a couple of goals would be the closest Chelsea came to silverware this season. As for Europe, Liverpool have found themselves in another Champions League final after beating the likes of Lazio and PSG. Malco Cato and Milan have once again won the Serie A and Coppa Italia after defeating Roma. However, it's not a fairy tale ending for Liverpool as Newcastle are champions of Europe. Ryan Sutherland and Man United's trophy run ends as they are back to their usual. Hugo also has a trophyless season with Chelsea despite winning the Premier League Golden Boot, and his Italian rival Matteo is the third of our players to not win a trophy this season. Malco Cato, however, has not followed the same trend as Milan are crowned Serie A champions for the 4th time in a row, but there is big news. After 505 appearances in the Serie A for AC Milan, Malco Cato has left, joining French giants PSG. This season has started as the last finished with a big move. Matteo Cato has also decided to leave, but he's jetting off for the money to Saudi Arabia to join Al Hilal, but he was unable to win any silverware with them. However, he did win his 3rd Nations League, this time without his brother. At the age of 34, Ryan Sutherland has finally got himself as a first team player for Man United, making 37 appearances in the league. However, they did finish 12th, so maybe that explains it. His brother Hugo, on the other hand, finishes at the summit of the Premier League and picks up another Carabao Cup after beating Sunderland 4-0 in the final. I don't think there's any surprise when I tell you Malco Cato and PSG won League One and the Coupe de France. Despite the 2 trophies, Malco Cato may have a bitter taste in his mouth as Milan have won the Champions League, beating Chelsea 3-2 in the final. Malco Cato may have lost his love for Europe last season as he joins Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, for who he did go on to win an Asian Champions League with. His brother Matteo made it 2 trophyless seasons now for Al Hilal. Ryan Sutherland kept his role as a starter for Man United with a slight improvement as they finished 9th. But once again, Hugo Sutherland is the star of the show as Chelsea defend both their Premier League title and Carabao Cup. After 2 seasons in Saudi Arabia, Matteo Cato has made the decision to retire from football. At the end of season 20, Ryan Sutherland has decided to retire from football after finishing 8th in the Premier League with Man United. Malco Cato won himself a 2nd Asian Champions League with Al Nassr, but that's his only trophy. And finally, Hugo Sutherland, who for the 3rd season in a row has won the Premier League and Carabao Cup after defeating Manchester City in the final. And now it's time for the final trophy cabinet update. Malco Cato has 2 international trophies and 20 club trophies, 11 of which are Serie A titles with AC Milan. His brother Matteo collected 10 trophies throughout his playing career, which included 2 Champions League. And finally, Hugo Sutherland clocks in 17 trophies, which includes 5 Premier League titles and 2 Champions League. So that is the final trophy collection for everyone, but I do want to have a things not covered section. You might be wondering about the Ballon d'Ors. Well, during the early 2030s, Hugo Sutherland dominated the award, winning it 6 times in a row, and towards the end of the decade, Matteo Cato managed a double. As for international tournaments, Scotland had an impressive run in the 2034 World Cup, making it to the semi-finals before being knocked out by Austria. The furthest Italy got with the Cato brothers was also the semi-finals, but that was in 2038. As for the Euros, 2036 was the heartbreak year as Italy lost in the final to Portugal. But that's everything I wanted to mention, so now I'll put up the final career stats for each player and hopefully you enjoyed.